Hello and welcome to the Pandaverse. I'm Elgon Williams. I'm the E in C&E.
And I'm the C in the C&E.
Christine Gabriel. We're here with Devon Atwood. She may look familiar to, our viewers from the past because she was here, I think, back in April.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She had a new book launch back in April. And I think at that time you mentioned that you were working on book 2. Well, guess what? Book 2's launching tomorrow.
Yay!
Yay! Super exciting.
It's called Bonds and Envy, and it's the Faie King's Mortal, book 2.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I had an opportunity to read it probably about a month and a half ago. I read the art. Really good book. I mean, the first book was good. This book's better. There's a lot.
Thank you.
There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that's revealed in this book.
Yeah, a lot happens. I've heard that from my readers. Like, they just went so fast, and I was like, yeah, I don't know. I get bored if things don't happen.
Yeah, this is a fast read. It really is.
Yeah.
And it's not that it's a short book. It's just you're compelled to keep reading it.
Right. You don't want to stop.
Yay! That's awesome.
Yeah.
I could not ask for more. That's awesome. It was so fun to write. When you make a world and then you just dive a little deeper into it, so fun. It just was great. Yeah.
Well, sequels are either hard to write or they're easy to write, and it's for completely different reasons.
Right. Yeah.
And you battle against them. I mean, Christine can tell you she's been battling her third book.
I'm a little less.
And it's not that she has trouble writing the story. She keeps going back and revising it.
I can't stop.
Wait, you gotta put it down eventually.
I know.
You can't tweak it all the way to death.
I know. And then I was gonna write the other day, and I was like, you know what? We're gonna sit here. We're just gonna get it out of the way. Let's go. And then the keyboard died. I was like, well, so much for that.
There's a good excuse for not writing.
I know. So I went and bought batteries, so I can do it again. Elgon.
Yeah. No, Bonds and Envy flowed really well. It was almost, and it might even feel like this, it was almost like it could have been one long book, really, just the continuation of the story. But I didn't want to do a massively long book. And so it does pick up immediately where it left off. And, the story flowed very easily. And it was honestly just such a joy to write the whole thing. So.
And you get to visit a lot more of the Faie universe.
Yes, and that's what I was most looking forward to. It's like, ooh, I get to just grab onto it and hand it to everybody on a silver platter. Here's what's so interesting about the world, and a lot of familiar elements, of course, but
you've got a floating city.
Yeah, the Boreas city with the flying Faie, which I was excited to write. I wanted to spend more time in that world, but it just didn't feel right for them to linger there for too long. So
right.
But that was a really cool element. I loved introducing a little more of the bad guy lore, kind of getting into the Aranese, the three of them, and how they work, and it was cool. It was just fun. I loved it. And I'm a romance sucker, right? So anything where I get to write more with Evander and Onwin, I was like, yeah.
And some of this book takes place underwater.
And some of it's underwater. They go underwater and they go up into the stars and in between, and yeah, they're all over in this one. So they didn't sit still for long. And then I introduced a couple of new characters. So this is a 3-book series, but I've introduced a couple of characters, and there will be at least 2 standalones with characters that you would be familiar with.
Oh, that's
after
awesome.
This one. Yeah. So I was excited to do that too, kind of continue on with the world a bit after.
Oh, that's going to be fantastic.
So you're going to have all these books done by December? Is that?
Yeah.
The rate
That's
she's
the
going,
logic.
yes, she will.
It's so funny because I wrote these so fast, and now my life is a lot crazier. I'm smack dab in the middle of my grad program now. So I've got that, and I've got a lot of kids and another one due in January. So I don't know how I'll be able to do all that, but yeah, I'm gonna try.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, we're really excited. So
yeah,
I was like, I don't know how we're gonna like fit all that in there, but I'll make it work. We'll make it happen. So
wow.
So a lot happening, but it's exciting.
You know, we have a friend up in Canada that was writing her books while she had young triplets.
Oh,
yes, triplets.
I don't know if I could do triplets. I mean, I do have quite a few children, but I don't know if I could do triplets. That's a lot. But yeah, I do want to continue the world at a fairly good pace, just so that people don't have to wait too long. It's better for marketing that way too, honestly, for books. It goes so much smoother when you have fans that are already invested and they don't have to wait too long. So
yeah, you don't want them to forget about you.
Yeah, kind of. I've had some success with TikTok, mostly with, getting readers that are invested and involved. My ARC team was really cool. I think I got almost 100 of them this time.
Wow,
and
there you go.
They were super into it, and they were really fun and great. So I'm just trying to keep that energy moving. So
that's great.
Yeah, it was good. It's been really good.
Yeah, it seems like TikTok and Instagram are a lot more important for books than
yes.
it used to be. I mean, you see a lot. I mean, if you're on Twitter, you see a lot of things about books on there because Twitter is all about politics and books now.
Yeah, it kind of is, and I'm not even really on Twitter.
And everybody's there. There's a lot of noise, so it's really hard to get noticed.
I kind of squeezed my way into book talk a bit. I haven't really figured out Instagram. I don't know. I'll keep trying.
I think I finally figured it out. I mean, I've been working on it for 7 years, 8 years.
Yeah, it's not easy.
I'm not there a lot.
I feel like Instagram is more TikTok-ish now, though, because it's not just photos, it's videos too. Every time I open up Instagram, it's all videos, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is like YouTube and TikTok had a baby.
Yeah, it is. And the hardest part for me is that you have to do it so consistently all the time.
Yep.
And it kind of involves your face most of the time, so I can't look like a swamp creature, And so, for me, that's hard because I'd really rather look like a swamp creature. So it's like,
that's what I felt about blow drying my hair. I was like, you know what? I don't care.
No, you look perfect. You look awesome. No, it's social media is tough. There's a code, you got to crack it. It's tough.
And you got to rise above the noise, and that's like the hardest part, because everybody's trying to make an impact. So you got to do something different. You got to do something that's going to get your voice out there, going to get you heard. So I think it's pretty awesome. You got 100 people to.
They were great, and they were super interested. It's fantasy romance isn't too hard of a sell to especially my generation and a little bit younger, but it's just it's hard to be known and to be seen in that space. And
you should be really proud of yourself.
Thank you. I really am trying. I'm trying for the love of the book and the story, and just that it came out of nowhere so quickly.
But it's meant to be written. And I think that's one of the things that, a lot of authors, like maybe you, me, and Elgon, we suffer from that. Like we don't know maybe how good we are. Our readers know, and we hear compliments, but to accept those compliments, it's like the hardest thing to do, right? Because you're just like,
oh, we're our worst critics.
Yes, for sure.
Just the way it is.
I'm impossibly hard on myself. I can't go back and read it.
We know that we're all frauds. I mean, that's
it's
imposter syndrome, right?
Imposter syndrome is so rampant in the author community. I don't know what it is.
And I'll be writing and I'll read a little bit of like what I wrote, and I'm like, wow, that's really good. And then I'm like, maybe I should put some of this like on Facebook, and I'm like, no. Nah, no.
But you should.
But I should. But it's that fear, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I market for all of our Panda Moon authors. Let me tell you how much I market myself.
Easier said than done.
It's like, do I want to post that? Do I want people that I went to high school with seeing that? Do I want the college people to know about that? Or, and,
yeah.
And the thing is, I've come to realize that, it may be isolated just to my group of people, but almost nobody that I went to high school with is ever going to look at my books.
No, I don't think.
Really?
I don't know.
I'm like the opposite. I feel like.
I think that most of the people that I went to school with are into their own little universe, and they're really not interested in what's going on over here in that lunatics universe. That guy that.
Oh yeah.
Like that strange guy that writes now.
Well, you know what though? Like if you think about it, I bet I'm going to say you're wrong, Elgon. I'm going to say you're wrong for one reason. When people look at authors who have written a book, they think this is the first thing they think. We're rich and famous.
And they're so far from the truth.
Boy, are they wrong.
You wrote a book?
But we are talented, and that something.
That's talent is
skill.
The best part.
Yeah,
that's the best part.
Being
weird makes us, unique.
Yeah,
not boring.
I think so.
The thing that struck me about Devon's books when I read the first book and the second book, this is also true. It's like I'm reading an arc, so this is not the finished thing that's going to be out there. I'm reading the arc, and I'm not finding a lot of mistakes in it. I mean, there's mistakes in arcs. There's a lot of typos. There's a lot of missing periods, missing commas. That quotation mark that's not where it should be.
Right.
These are all things that are picked up in proofreading and the final editing process.
Right.
But your books are remarkably clean. At the arc stage.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And for people who don't write books, that takes a lot of work.
Oh, yes.
Oh, it's so daunting. The editing process. Oh my gosh. So I edit as I go, for one thing. So I try to get it as close to polished as I can by the time I'm done with the end, and then I have to go through it. I just made a TikTok about this, and a lot of people actually seem to agree how crazy it is. I go through it twice, looking for grammatical errors and syntax errors and typos and maybe things that I missed in the story that didn't, fit or whatever. Then I send it to my professional editor, and she's amazing. And then you have to go through and proofread it again. And I don't know how you guys do it, but like I use the read aloud feature in Word, and it reads it out loud to me, and I painstakingly read along with it. It's horrible. So by the end, you're so sick of your book. You're sick of it.
Well, you can't read your own writing and find all the mistakes, because at some point your mind kind of jumps on because you say, okay, I know what's going to go on. Right. And you get comfortable with it, and you get into a flow, and you start reading, instead of what's there, you read what should be there. So you never see the mistakes.
Your brain is incredibly good at filling in what is supposed to be there. That's your brain's job. So you're basically telling your brain to shut up and read what's actually on the page, but it's hard. It's really hard.
My first editor told me to read the book backwards.
Oh, that's actually kind of hard.
He said, if you want to find mistakes in a story, then read it backwards.
Interesting.
And I tried doing that. It worked to a certain extent, but it was like the weirdest story that you get in your mind, because you know what's there.
Yeah. You start summoning a demon, Elgon.
And you're reading it backwards.
How painful.
You're going, this story might actually be better if I wrote it backwards.
I'll start at the end first, and then we'll just come all the way back. So Onwin's still in a castle with some creepy monster that wants to control her. Okay, yeah, sure. We'll just that's her image.
Ironic, the first printing of that book, my publisher sent me a box of books, right? And I'm going around doing promotional stuff with it. The first book I pulled out of the box was bound backwards.
That's funny.
And it was the only book out of the entire print. There's like 1,000 books were printed in that run. It was the only book that was like that because we checked every book.
It just wanted to haunt you forever.
It was the first book that I opened was printed backwards.
Well, and we do all of this work and we try so hard with our proofreaders and our editors, and there's still mistakes. So Faie and Fury has an audiobook that's coming out finally. I got an audiobook narrator. There were still mistakes after it had been published for how many months, and she, as she was reading, was able to find a couple, like, so slight, like you probably wouldn't even know they're mistakes. It's just not the exact word that I meant to put there. Oh,
right.
I was like, are you kidding me? I mean, it was just, you do the best you can, but.
There was one of the characters in one of my books has kind of a weird name because it's a foreign character. And one of the main characters in the book, actually. Mm-hmm. And about 3 chapters in, I think it was, the name was misspelled. And it went all the way through editing and nobody caught that.
Yeah. Because if it's not a familiar name, too, you won't know the spelling off the top. I did that a couple times.
I would be the only one that would catch it, probably.
Right. Exactly.
Well, I'm in several writing groups, and every once in a while someone will make a post about a book they're reading, and they'll have a paragraph with like one spelling error, and they'll circle it and they'll be like, how could they even release this book with this spelling error? And I just look and I'm like, try writing a book. Try writing.
You know how many words are in that book, and we have to make sure every one of them is perfect.
Stephen King had misspellings. Like it's human nature.
I read a book by Samuel R. Delany, who's one of the greatest science fiction writers ever. And he won all kinds of awards and everything. And of course, at the time I'm reading the pocket paperback version of this book because I was a college student and I couldn't afford, books.
Obviously. Library.
Yeah. And I'm reading through the book and I find a typo in it. And I'm like, okay, this book's been through, editing, proofreading, publishing. It's in a reprint now. It's in a paperback. How many people have looked at this book and I'm finding a typo in it?
Okay, but listen, if Game of Thrones can put a Starbucks cup in the final edit of one of their scenes, excuse me, I don't want to hear anything about a typo. Sorry.
Yeah.
Come on.
I mean, Gladiator had an airplane in one of their scenes.
It's human nature. Nothing can be perfect.
Art is art, and I feel like we should just appreciate the art behind the words. Like,
Well, there's a term for that. It's called anachronism. If there's a term for it, it happens a lot. Okay?
Yeah, exactly. No, I honestly don't. I stressed it so much with my first one. I was so stressed out that they would think I was unprofessional or unintelligent because I didn't catch enough things. I've done my due diligence with Bonds and Envy. There might be typos. I don't know, but I've certainly tried, and I'm not going to stress myself out about it.
You created
every effort
work of art, your heart, your soul. If there's one typo, you know what? Oh well.
I've done everything that I can, and I know that, and I feel that the story is compelling enough that it should be fine. It should be fine. So
it will be fine.
Yeah, that's what I think too. But we always, the imposter syndrome. We're hard on ourselves. It's how it is.
We are.
Yeah.
We are. Oh.
But for good reason, we want to share our stories in just the right way so that they feel the same things that we felt.
Yes.
And you just want to convey that, when you're writing, and sometimes you're just like, yeah. And you just want them to feel that, and my main goal, really, more than anything. So
I think that's the best way to put it. You want them to, every emotion that you felt when you wrote that book, like it's like a transfer of energy, right?
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
And that's the point of what we do, is to just make our readers escape into these beautiful, magical worlds that we create,
Right.
and that's what makes our job the best job in the world.
So fun. It really, really is. I love it. I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's so much work and so much, goes into it. But in the end, you're like, I made that.
Right.
That's so cool.
Right.
It's so important to
And
give
think
yourself
about this, how
recognition.
hard it is. How hard it is to write everything that
Yeah.
comes out of your brain.
Right.
And all those words, and they all make sense. And there's a beautiful story, and there's feelings and thoughts, and
Right.
it's
In
pretty
just the right
magical.
way.
In just the right
Especially
way.
with fantasy worlds, there's a
Yes.
lot that I want them to
creating.
see in their mind's eye. And I think I really, really try to say that as clearly and,
Your
precisely.
descriptions are one of your strengths as a writer.
Thank you.
You're good at doing that.
Thank you.
And that's kind of rare in the genre that you're in.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times the fantasy authors, they either go overboard with it, or they allow the reader to fill in a lot of the blanks, and you're in the middle, in between.
Good. That's where I want to be. I don't want to be Tolkien. Can't do it. Love him. Can't do it.
I loved Lord of the Rings, but the downside of Lord of the Rings is they're long books, and he wrote 3 of them. And then he wrote The Hobbit before, and he wrote the Silmarillion, which was a bunch of his notes.
Right.
One of his children's published afterwards. I mean, he wrote a lot of stuff that, there's stuff that we haven't even seen yet that he wrote, to
I
build
feel like for him, though, it was so crucial for him to be as extremely detailed as possible, because the fantasy world was not as common as it is now. It would not be as easy to imagine those things. So he really, really had to get in there and help you see what he was talking about, because we didn't have TV shows for reference. I can rely on that a little. If I say that someone is a sea king, I can describe him, but you probably already kind of have an idea, know?
Right.
You have an image in your head already.
Right. So, I mean, we're fortunate in that we can kind of work with that and build on it. But yeah, I know he had a much harder job.
Yeah. His work has influenced culture so much. I mean, I grew up in 60s and 70s, and it wasn't quite as pervasive as it is now. But when you got to the college level, people were talking about Tolkien's books.
Yeah.
I actually started reading his books after I read Harvard Lampoon's book that parodied Lord of the Rings. It was called
Gotcha.
It was called Lord of the Rings. Fantastic book.
I've never even heard of that.
I haven't either.
The thing is, I read that book first, so I didn't get a lot of the jokes.
You were like, okay.
So my sister had that book, and she said, "Why are you reading that?" Looking at it. And I said it's funny. She goes, "You're not even getting half the jokes in it because you haven't read the books yet." And I said, "Those books are long." And she said,
"They're long,
yeah, but you got to read them first."
They are long.
They are long.
So I read
Lord
of the Rings from start to finish when I was in high school. And then I read The Hobbit because, I mean, he did a good job explaining what happened before, Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Enough so the story carries itself. If you didn't read The Hobbit, you really didn't need to understand Lord of the Rings. But I went back and I read Hobbit afterwards, and I was like, oh, that makes a lot more sense. And I'm like, Gee, I should probably start reading stuff in order in the sequence, you know. And then I went back and reread Lord of the Rings, and I was like laughing my ass off again, yeah. But
Yeah.
I'm getting all the jokes then.
Yeah. I think that's so funny. I didn't even know there was a parody. That's funny. I might have to look that up.
I had no idea.
It's hilarious. I mean, it's
Well, anything that gets famous enough is
it's
probably
raunchy and crude, but it's hilarious.
Yeah. So I want to do well, but I don't want to do so well that people start making fun of my books. Is there like a line there? Like I can just.
I get that.
It's like if you had a #1 hit and Weird Al Yankovic did a parody of it. It's an honor. It's an honor to be in that category. So you want somebody to parody your books.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I'll keep writing, but we'll see.
All right. Well, the book again is titled Bonds and Envy, and it's book 2. And the first book's called Faie and Fury. If you haven't read that, this book would stand alone by itself, but you're missing a lot of the detail. And
better to read the first one.
You need to read it from the first. I mean, that's why I went through that whole thing about Lord of the Rings. You need to read this book first so you understand it. And both of them are on Amazon right now.
Yeah, Amazon Unlimited.
I'm sitting here looking at the page, and on Amazon, Faie and Fury is 99 cents in Kindle.
Yep. It's 99 cents, so
doesn't
easy
cost
read.
To get in on the bottom floor there and read the book. And while you're at it, go ahead and pick up Bonds and Envy, because you're going to want to read that.
Heck
because
awesome.
You know, even though the major thing going on in Faie and Fury has been resolved by the end of the book, there's a lot of stuff that you know is still got to happen, and you're going to want to read about that. And
same with the end of book 2. It's not quite a cliffhanger, but there's more. So
yeah, I can't wait for book 3.
Awesome. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
So this is going to be a trilogy with then 2 extra books at the end of it with that concentrate on other characters.
Yes.
So there's a lot of stuff in the pipeline to be read in this.
There's a lot there, and after you read book 2, you'll probably have an idea of who it is. There's a certain prince who steals a certain someone away, and I get you. Yeah. So it'll be good. It'll be good. Well, thank you so much, you guys. It's such a pleasure.
Well, I can't wait to have you back on in like 2 months from now.
Yeah, let's go ahead and book it. It'll be right before Christmas.
Right. Christmas Eve. I'll just make sure I get you guys in like before I birth the baby. How's that?
My daughter-in-law is expecting a child in January.
Oh, who is? Your daughter-in-law?
Oh, daughter-in-law, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, my oldest daughter's got a baby coming too, probably in spring next year. So
congrats, that's huge. That's like awesome.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be grandfather many times over again.
Yes, so. You are.
Can't complain about that.
Well,
I look forward to talking to you guys again sometime soon.
All right. Well, you take care.
You guys too. Thank you.